my husband at the time was working at a production company called Partisan. He was in there at the time was called dubbing department. So it's kind of like an in-house editing and a little bit of post. And through his contacts, I just started being a runner on Partisan commercial shoots. And then, you know, a couple of commercials, then you meet a first AD who you really get on with, who then recommends you for another job, and it just kind of snowballs from there. And I always say to people, if they want to, you know, if they want an in, they don't know how to. I mean, running is great because A, you get to experience what it means being on set, but B, it also exposes you to all the different production roles. So if you're unsure what you want to do, it's a great way to kind of see what other people are doing and kind of, you know, being very hands-on and interacting with everyone. And I did that for a good few years. I was kind of production runner, set runner, third AD, second AD on some smaller kind of like short films and music videos and stuff. Then I did Tim Burton's stop motion film Frankenweenie, which was a very cool, very kind of formative experience for me in that I did that job for close to 10 months, which is obviously unheard of, you know, no shoot lasts that long, but in stop motion, I think they were just under 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. So I was kind of there for half of them, maybe like a year and a half. It's a very long process. Obviously, you know, animators do like, if they're really fast, 2 seconds a day. You have 30 units. I had like 10 to look after of these smaller sets. And basically your third assistant director is kind of effectively a floor first. So you're managing your units, you're reporting to the second and the first AD, and you're kind of overseeing the process that happens in each unit, which is, you know, art department come in, they do the set, camera people come in, they do, you know, they light the set, do everything, puppet hospital, bring the puppets, excuse me, do all the like final checks and stuff. Animators do their thing, VFX come in, do the plates. Like there's so many different steps for each of the shots. And you're kind of managing that process and making sure that everything's running smoothly and on time is the idea. And you're constantly kind of like, you know, pressuring the people to go faster in a nice way because, you know, it's such a massive thing. And obviously, you know, things always run over and all of that. And that was, to start off with, that was probably potentially the most scary professional experience that I'd ever had up to that point, because working in animation, it's its own thing. And I felt starting that they were all speaking like Chinese or something. Yeah. And I was completely out of it. I had no idea what anyone was talking about. You had to learn everything really fast. You're on the walkie-talkies with your AD team all the time. I learned I had a very, very good team. I had a first called Kev Harwood, who's still a friend, and Rich, who was our second, and then my team, Mark and Gemma, and a few other people who came and went, Alan. You learn that you only need to deliver very essential information. So when you're chatting to your team, they want to know what's happening. You need to be very quick, very precise. There's no long explanations. This is what's happening, and this animator has said this, and because da da da. They're like, no, Zita, is it going to happen when we said it was going to happen or not? How long do they need? It was very intense, very, very lovely, because, you know, normally I'd be on a commercial shoot. Sometimes when it's a really big commercial for like a week at Pinewood, like I've done a couple of big Virgin Atlantic ads and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, wow, it's a week shoot and we're all together. And this is so cool. This was like 10 months for me, every day with the same people, you know, having our pub lunches on Friday, just having those relationships that you don't normally have on shoots. You know, you're lucky if you're kind of part of the similar team and you kind of go from one job to another, but still most of the people are new. So every time you start something, it feels like a first day at school. And you're like, hi, this is me. And you have to do this whole thing.
And everybody knows everybody else except you. And you're like,
yeah, exactly. So this actually felt closer to theater, because you had a longer time putting something together and then you were kind of doing it together for a period of time. because also I don't know if it's the same in Hungary or in Romania. It's theaters in Belgrade. They're all kind of repertoire theaters.
Yeah.
So there'll be like 10 shows on at one theater. And you know, when the show first opens, maybe it's on like 4 or 5 times a month, and the rest are only one or a couple. So you can be in a show, like the show that I was in as a kid. I was in it for like over 10 years. I changed roles over time because I started off as a small kid, and then I was
Yeah.
a teenager, and
Of
like,
course.
yeah. So I
Change
guess,
casting types, basically.
was that
You change your casting types, basically.
exactly. But yeah, I guess I just missed having that continuity of relationship with people I worked with, which I really wasn't getting as an AD. And I also think so. So hit pause on that. But basically, after Frank and Weenie, I went back to commercials, and I just found it just really tough because working on this very particular film, there's not many of them made, and they're mainly now all happening through Leica, and that's all like in the US. um 3 Mill Studios, kind of, they had a massive refurb and stuff, and none of it's happening to the same extent as it used to, you know, with Frankenweenie and Corpse Bride and Fantastic Mr. Fox and all those films that got made here. Yeah, and then I went back to commercials, and I was like, oh, I just feel like a little, you know, cog doing my little thing, not really, you know, no one particularly asks you for your opinion or for any kind of creative input. And we did have that on the animation film. You know, you had to make lots of snap decisions and decide things, and you know, come up with solutions and think, oh, you know, maybe we should actually get our department guys after, because you know, you had so much space to actually feel like you're collaborating with people. Whereas, you know, being an AD on commercials, you know, you're very much just executing tasks. You know, you're
Yeah, I
producing,
mean,
or whoever you're first, you know, they tell you what needs doing, and then you just go and do it. And
yeah,
yeah, and I missed the creativity.
I was just gonna say that, like, obviously, watching films and growing up watching films, everybody is exposed to the glitz and glamour, and everybody knows the actors and stuff. But not many people are aware of the entire military style operation that's going on behind the scenes. And there's a bunch of different careers that you can get into, but it's even though it's the arts, and the arts are famously, you know, like, oh my god, so, you know, hipster, not hipster, hippie-ish and whatever, but that's not the experience once you actually get into your production. Like, it's
Yeah,
very go and do
yeah.
that.
Go and do this in, you know, the required time or less. And yeah, yeah. And it was just, I think, I have a friend who's kind of she's moved on up in the AD department. It's an intense, being an AD is an intense job, in a sense that you're first on set, you're last to leave, you need to keep on top of everything. I mean, people who are first ADs, like people who do it, you know, at very high level, you know, for the likes of Marvel and
Yeah,
what have you, um, they're by and large men. They're very kind of particular personalities, in that they're great at what you do, but maybe, you know, personal lives suffer somewhat. You know, you are on these shoots for a long period of time. You kind of begin to feel that that's you at your best at those high intense situations, and then when you're
yeah.
not on film, you are missing that world.
It
And
would be
outside
a
of it,
rush.
you know, was that,
It would be a rush of just having all
it's
these
a
moving
massive
parts that
rush.
you're responsible for.
It's a massive rush. So then when you're not on the shoot, you almost kind of don't really know how to function in the real world.
Yeah,
um but I mean, it just kind of became apparent to me, like, I wasn't really getting my creative needs fulfilled, being an AD, and B, I did think, oh, you know, at one point I would like to have a family. And, you know, what would that look like if you're, you know, getting up at 5 and coming back late every night? And I wanted to do features, which often means, you know, a lot of location stuff. And it's just,
yeah.
yeah, it was just kind of beginning to feel more and more not really something that I felt. Don't get me wrong, I mean, even now, I love my job, I love what I do, but my time outside of what I do for work is just as important, if not more important, you know.
And you do need that sort of
Yeah,
balance, if not just harmony. This you need something
yeah.
other.
And I think for me personally, doing a job that's kind of all consuming and doesn't leave much space for anything else, it just wasn't going to work.